Okay, this is a Flask data science project, I guess I'll call it. And I've been spending about a week, maybe a little bit longer than a week on this project. And as you can see, it's a basic terrorism information website. So I built this. It's not like the most impressive website looking website. And I also will have to say that I tried to coordinate with my web development class with the same topics that we're learning in web dev to kind of pound them home for me. And I apply those skills to the my project as well here. And I will have to say, having the nav bar over here and having like this two column layout here with the nav bar and then the main elements is something that I actually never really knew how to do really well. And when I went to a coding boot camp, it seemed that to make columns, they basically told you to only use Bootstrap. And I had really no idea about the whole float thing. And it was until months later that I realized that, and that was back in 2015. So I really have a much better understanding of web development from this simple project and from my class as well. And this project again helped me reinforce that. But let's take a look at this site. And I will have to say that this terrorism site, how it works is I have this kind of, it doesn't have really a back end really at all, but it has all this data that I got from this site on Kaggle, which you can click right here and go to the link on it. I mean, right here. And I have all this data about terrorism attacks. Basically, I thought it was for mostly the US, but it seems it has a few from around the world, but mostly these attacks focus on the US. And I take that data and I allow the user to look at different information. So if they want to look at ideology, they click here. It takes you to the screen here, and you can look at like right-wing ideology. It'll basically say out of the 216 attacks, 19 came from right-wing extremist groups. Spelled that wrong right there. I'd have to fix that. And if I look at like left-wing, out of the 216 terrorist attacks, one came. So you kind of get an idea of basic information. But I will say in this project that this project is not meant to really allow someone to form terrorism policy off the information in the site. It comes from this data file right here, the CSV file, but it's basically, I made this project more about how to use pandas with Flask right there. I say it right there. That's the whole point of the project is more development skills and not to form policy or anything like that. Then we can go to prevented attacks, and at 162 out of 216 attacks were prevented and not prevented. 33 out of the 200 were not prevented, and that may not add up to 216 because there's a lot of blank information in this file. I mean, look at right here, you can see the value missing there, values missing here. So this file has a lot of empty value. But the one thing I will say in this project that I spent the most time on that I thought was going to be the hardest part for me, but it wasn't actually that bad at all once I actually started to plan it all out. And it was the victims killed here. So if I want to look at an attack where 20 or more people died in an attack, I enter 20 there and I submit it. And it brings me back to Mumbai attack. You see, that's one attack that did not occur in the U.S. and the Orlando nightclub shooting back in June of 2016. And I'm sorry about how this is presented. I have a note here about that. It was just something that this was the very last thing I did on the project. I really want to start another project, and so I kind of just left it like that. But at least it pulls information from the CSV file, like I said, and allows us to pull it on the screen. So that's it on this side here. If we take a look at the code, I have my main file here, and it's importing pandas and numpy along with Flask. It has importing my ideology file that I have a class from. And then it's just a basic like Flask setup that I have here, pulling all my different templates. And that's all it for this file. And then it's just running it down here. And then I have this one other file that has this class in it that basically executes all my code. And it returns it, and back here in my main file, you see it return what it's doing right here and putting it up here. So that really allows me to like work with it. And like I said, I thought that this was going to be working with Flask was going to be tough, and it's something I've really fallen in love with. And Flask is something I could really see becoming my new like Ruby on Rails, because it's very easy for me to get a project up and working. The one big thing I want to learn how to do is build graphs, and I'm probably going to have to use D3 JavaScript for that. But I'm also excited to do that because D3 JavaScript is something else I kind of want to have a basic understanding of. So that's like almost all the overall thing. I have, like I said, again, this ideology class that I make objects from right here. This is just stuff down here that I was using to test stuff out on this project. And I have all the templates here, the styles, my CSS for this whole project. And again, I used a lot of this from my class, my web development class. So I started to kind of piggyback on learning concepts and ideas, and it really helped me this project. So I'm really kind of, even though this project is not the most impressive website at all, it looks like something from the late 90s, honestly. I'm actually quite happy with it because of how I get to use Flask and Pandas basically together to display information to people. So, and it allows me again to practice my web development skills. So that's all it for this project, and I hope you really enjoyed watching this video. And I'll be probably on here in another week or so, maybe with talking about a basic Angular 2 project I've been working on at a very basic level. So I hope you like this and have a great day.